Welcome back. Recently I realized it's been a while since I've done one of my great cover songs videos. I've done 2 of those already. So if you don't see your favorite here, maybe check those out. There's a good chance they might appear in one of those videos. But I think you'll like the 3 I've got today, all classics, and I believe all tunes that showed up in the comments of my first 2 videos. As usual, you can make a financial contribution at Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, links in the description. I'm not able to monetize the vast majority of the videos I put up on this channel due to the fact that I use a lot of copyrighted material, and also the fact that I'd need to be getting a hell of a lot more views than I am to get any significant income that way. So again, those contributions are very much appreciated. All right, let's do it. The Beatles are by far the most covered rock band, and with a little help from my friends is no exception. There are at least 50 covers of this tune, but by far the most well-known, and I think the best, is by Joe Cocker. Paul McCartney was the song's primary writer with a little help from Lennon. See what I did there? And Paul was quoted as saying, "It was just mind-blowing. He turned the song into a soul anthem, and I will forever be thankful for him doing that." Cocker really did a number on this thing. Apparently, his version was inspired by 2 of his musical heroes, Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles. Among the innovations, his version has a long instrumental intro. It's close to a minute in before we finally get a vocal. This intro has some nice organ and a guitar part played by none other than Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. I knew Page was a big studio guy and played on countless recordings in the 60s, but I never knew about this one until recently. Cocker changed the key in his version, not at all unusual when covering other people's music. The Beatles' original is in E, Cocker is in A. When Paul and John wrote the song, they intentionally kept the vocal range very limited to accommodate the very limited vocal range of Ringo Starr. The song was written specifically as a vehicle for him, but Cocker obviously has the ability to go off more like a blues or jazz singer. And finally, another very important difference, Cocker's version is recorded at a slower tempo, and he even changes the time signature itself. The Beatles' original is in 4/4 time. Cocker is in 3/4, which is sometimes known as waltz time. More on that momentarily. So as mentioned, the original is in E, and the verse follows what we would call a 1-5-2 progression. Okay, in the key of E, that's E major, B major, and F sharp minor. Now, regarding the time signature, 4/4 time. Remember, the vast majority of pop music is in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just means that there are 4 counts or beats per measure. So with the Beatles, we get this. What would you think if I sang out a tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Notice how straight and by the book Ringo sings it. His lines are very even and consistent. No real ornamentation. Da 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 da, right? Then we get Cocker. So that 1-5-2 progression that was E, B, and F sharp minor in the key of E now becomes A, E, and B minor in the key of A. And let's compare the time signatures. Beatles, 4 beats per measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Joe Cocker. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. And notice how much freer Cocker's vocal is. There are pregnant pauses, rhythmic variations. It all sounds a lot more off the cuff. What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ear and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. And another great change, Cocker never actually sings the chorus itself. There are 4 excellent backup female singers that carry that. Cocker just does a bunch of cool jazzy ad-libs.
Oh, baby, how you find? All I need is my brother. I say I'm gonna get high. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, yeah. All you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh, yeah, but don't you let them.
You've Got a Friend is a very interesting entry here in that James Taylor's version and Carole King's version were recorded pretty much simultaneously and even using some of the same musicians. Here's what the timetable looks like. The tune was first released in February of 1971 on King's blockbuster Tapestry album. Taylor released his version just a couple of months later in April of 1971 on his album Mudslide Slim and the Blue Horizon. Then he released it as a single in May, a single which made it to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Interestingly, King never released this tune as a single, but the connection between King, Taylor, and this song goes even deeper than that. King has stated that her inspiration for writing a song called You've Got a Friend was James Taylor's line, "I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend," in his 1970 hit, Fire and Rain. You've Got a Friend was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2001 and has been recorded by dozens of other artists over the years, including Dusty Springfield, Michael Jackson, and Canadian Anne Murray. But let's face it, these two versions are the ones that pretty much everyone knows. Unlike with A Little Help from My Friends, which as we've seen got a complete reworking from Joe Cocker, Taylor and King's versions are actually very similar. Not surprisingly, King's is piano-based and Taylor's is guitar-based, but other than that, not a whole lot of difference there in style. James Taylor has long been known for his beautiful acoustic fingerstyle playing, and this song is a great example. The intro is in G major. We have G. He goes to the 4-chord C, but he makes it a C sus2, which adds a nice little tension there, which is continued when he goes back to G, but it's a G sus4, which quickly resolves to G itself. Now, the verse is going to be in E minor. Great mood shift there. It's kind of brighter in the beginning. Once it gets to the verse, when you're down and troubled, we go to the minor key. And to get us there, he inserts a cool little 2-5-1 in the key of E minor, F sharp minor 7, B7, and boom, we've reached our destination. By the way, in Taylor's recording, he capos down on the 2nd fret. I favor the capo on the 5th fret for vocal reasons. When you're down and trouble and you need some love and care and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name,
which came as a surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you died alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. We never lost control. The face to face of the man who sold the world.
And from the late 60s and early 70s, we leap straight into the 1990s for The Man Who Sold the World, Nirvana's cover of a David Bowie tune that had originally been recorded and released way back in 1970 on Bowie's album of the same name. The tune had honestly remained quite obscure all those years until Nirvana brought it to the forefront. They recorded it on their famous/infamous MTV Unplugged performance, November 18th, 1993. I think one of the main reasons this song and so many others from that legendary performance have been so compelling to so many over the years is the fact that they were recorded just before Cobain's passing. Remember, he would be dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound by April of the following year. And to say he was not in a good state of mind at the time of this recording would be a gross understatement. But there's a certain emotion and fascination that comes with listening to an artist who is, to put it bluntly, on the verge of losing it. I get the same feeling listening to some of Syd Barrett's later material. It's almost painful at times, but you can't look away. The performance is definitely not to everyone's taste. Kurt's vocals are often very pitchy. There are little guitar mistakes, unwanted feedback. But for some, that authenticity really adds to it. Sadly, many have never actually heard Bowie's original. Let's take a little listen to that now. Of course, we're going to get the same hypnotic riff. It's A Phrygian, root flat 2, flat 7. Just a little trill based around A. Notice the way the vocal comes in much quicker there. Cobain gives it a couple of beats before he starts singing. Also, the percussion here in the background gives it almost a tango-like feel. But overall, Nirvana stayed pretty true, I think. This one's a little tricky to analyze musically. As I mentioned, the opening riff, A Phrygian, and it feels like the tune sort of fluctuates between A Phrygian and A Phrygian dominant. The only difference between those two scales being that Phrygian has a flatted third, and Phrygian dominant has a major third. So the verse begins on D minor. We passed upon the stairs. A, D minor, A, here comes a nice change, F, which came as a surprise. I spoke into his eyes, I thought you died a long time ago. I love that C major chord right there. Still very much Phrygian, and that great bass line, it runs straight up a C mixolydian scale. Then when it switches to F, F major, just goes to show sometimes just running up a scale can be effective. Oh no, not me, I never lost control. I love that change there. D flat major. Now that feels like Phrygian dominant to me. That D flat chord would be contained in the Phrygian dominant scale, not in the standard Phrygian scale. You're face to face with a man who sold the world. And I want to talk about the lyrics on this one. They're pretty obscure and open to interpretation, but I do have some ideas of what I think it's about, and I suspect the lyrics may have been a big part of what drew Cobain to this song and made him want to cover it. This song was written when Bowie was only 19, and he has said in interviews that this period was what he called his 15 minutes of Buddhism. Now, of course, that instantly brings to mind thoughts of regeneration, reincarnation, past lives. And I think that's really important because this song to me sounds like Bowie meeting and speaking to his younger self, or maybe even we could say younger selves, because let's face it, we all change into different people, probably many times over the course of our lives. Think about the title, The Man Who Sold the World. Perhaps Bowie himself is that man, and maybe even at the tender age of 19, he realized that he would need to make some serious compromises in order to make it in the music industry. Sell out, in other words. Listen to the first verse and chorus. It really sounds like Bowie conversing with his younger self. We passed upon the stair, spoke of was and when. Although I wasn't there, he said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes, I thought you died a long time ago. Oh no, not me, I never lost control. You're face to face with the man who sold the world. Definitely some food for thought anyway, and this is where I think the song may have resonated with Cobain. Now, I'm sure there were many things that led to his eventual tragic suicide: poor upbringing, a serious drug problem, bipolar disorder. But one of the things that seemed to haunt him later in life was the feeling that he had sold out, that he had somehow betrayed his punk rock roots in exchange for fame and adulation. And as we see time and time again, fame and adulation rarely seem to make people happy. Whatever the case, when Kurt sang Bowie's words, we believed him. It's an amazingly heartfelt performance. And as a result, The Man Who Sold the World has become one of Nirvana's best remembered recordings.